What's going on, everybody? Preseason has begun. We have got some opinions. Let's go. What's going on, everybody? This is Podcast 1558. This is Billy Truelove. I got Matt Bird with me, and tonight we are going to digest what we saw in the preseason Week 1 game against the San Francisco 49ers and touch base on what we're hoping to see in Week 2. Matt, I don't know about you, but right at first, regardless of what was going to happen, we knew this wasn't going to be a very exciting game. No preseason games are. But man, I was so pumped when we got to see the boys just come out at all, especially when 15 took the field. I am so ready for football to get going. And the number one thing that was on my list, other than to see Pat come on the field and off the field healthy, check, both those things took place, was this offensive line. I wanted to see them come out as a unit and not some weird preseason idea that Andy had. No, it was what we thought it was going to be, and I thought they looked as advertised. I know they were just going against the twos, but still, they've got to get their time together. They've got to gel. And first run from scrimmage, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, picks up 10, and that was such a good feeling. I was thinking about what we had talked about. If the offense has a good, productive first possession, we won't see them again. If they score, we won't see them again. Turns out, not too much of a productive first possession, and they still didn't come back out. So we tried to tell you, Andy Reid says this shit every year. They're going to get a quarter, and they never get a quarter. Not in that first game. And now with the no fourth game, we probably won't see the starters at all. But that offensive line, I thought they looked good. And I like seeing Lucas Niang out there. He is getting a lot of good time right now with Mike Rimmers being kind of banged up. Depth is the only real question for me on this line. At least not even the line. It's just the tackles that I have a question about. If Niang, if something happens to Orlando Brown, does Niang move to left? Because Rimmers had his problems at left. I don't mind Rimmers being at right, but I don't know if Niang can go to left. So that's a doomsday scenario where something happens to Orlando Brown. Hopefully we just don't have to cross that bridge ever. But I am feeling more confident by the day with this offensive line, and it is very good to see that another young Brett Veach pickup in the draft, Lucas Niang, is coming around. Matt, what about this defense in particular? I know we've talked about the offensive line and Clyde Edwards. What about this defense jumped out to you, if anything?
I really, really liked what I saw from both Hughes and Baker. If they can continue to get better and continue to get the defensive playbook down and play like they did preseason Week 1, I mean, we could be looking at a top 10 defense or better.
What really jumped out to me was Mike Hughes returning that ball from deep in the end zone. Just had so much get up. I had no idea that he was going to be that fast. And that took away any insurance questions I had about him being on this roster come Week 1. If he's going to provide at the punt or kick return position, he's locked in. Yep. Because we don't need McCole Hardman back there anymore. We don't need any of these offensive receivers out there anymore. We saw Demarcus Robinson make, huge mistake. We've seen McCole Hardman make huge mistakes. We've even seen Tyreek Hill make mistakes back there in some of the bigger moments of a game. So in just bigger games in general, I'd like to see those guys just not being out there. And if you can get more bang for your buck out of a guy like Hughes that we're not paying a whole lot to, That's great. And I love fast corners, and he certainly seems to fit that mold. And I do agree with you. DeAndre Baker, he just needs all the time he can get. Um, I think he is certainly going to be in that first team conversation. Snead and Ward are locked in, but I think Baker and Hughes can certainly find some time on the field. Maybe bump Rashad Fenton down a peg, which I love Fenton. I just think he's such an aggressive player, which can bite you in the ass sometimes, but he definitely plays with the right sort of attitude that we're looking for. So I am a big Rashad Fenton fan. We'll see what happens there. And then, as you saw with the secondary, Juan Thornhill, at least with the ones, not there yet.
Yeah.
What do you think's going on with Juan Thornhill?
It sounds like he might be still working his way back from that knee that he caught the year before last. So I'm hoping maybe they're just taking their time with him, and it's something that they don't want to push him too soon and have him re-injure that knee. But I guess time will tell.
Because this is what has just been making me scratch my head all day, or ever since the game. He played in Super Bowl 55, yes?
Did he?
Yes. Yes. Juan Thornhill was in Super Bowl 55. Minutes, I don't know. I had to go back and check, but he was in that game, and I'm just thinking, if we're holding him back now or trying to ease his way into this, which is what everyone is saying, what the hell did he have any business being on the field 6 months ago? Because that's when this was. And not necessarily a game where you're kind of just trying to feel it out and go with the motions here. This is where you let your knees stay on the field if you have to. And I'm not sure what's going on there. As we've talked about, I think this team absolutely favors Dan Sorensen right now, but Dan is getting up there in age. It's going to catch him. We'll see what happens there. But I am a big Juan Thornhill fan. Hopefully he can get it shaken off. So that is something that we'll be watching for this week as well. How much time he gets and just through the week in camp. I believe he was with the ones today. We'll see how that progression goes. The other standout to me, which is really no surprise, not necessarily a standout, kind of doing what he does, was Chris Jones. Nothing's changed there. He doesn't need time to get warmed up, and now he's taking on an additional role. Matt, what did you see from Chris Jones with what we've heard about him maybe shifting in this line?
It does look like he will play more D-end than tackle. I did notice that for first and second down, they kept him on the outside. They bumped him in on the inside on third down only. So it does sound like maybe, hopefully, 80-85% on the outside.
Wow, that would be interesting and be complete opposite of what I had envisioned a shift like that looking like. I would have assumed the opposite, more inside and then get shifted out on obvious passing situations, third and long, just third in general passing situations. But it was just one preseason game, so we'll see. Obviously, if you're trying that out, now is the time to give him all the snaps there. It's still very possible he's just outside in more passing obvious situations. But we will see. Very interesting. He did look great. He has lost some weight over the off season and apparently is into doing yoga. As I'm sure if you're watching the game, Kay Adams called him out on that one, since there is nothing to do at a preseason game. But Chris Jones having some fun there. Last thing I want to touch on from this game this past weekend is Mecole Hardman. I get it. It was just one little blip, but it's one we've seen in camp. It's one we've seen last season. And it to me, it appears him and Patrick not being on the same page, and I'm certainly not going to put that blame on Patrick. There was talk in this offseason that he did not link up with Patrick, you know, which is some of the things Tyreek was doing as he was finding his groove and his progression early on was, I will go wherever Patrick is and work on this. Not sure McCole Hardman, if he just thinks he's got his own training regimen he wants to be on, but I think it shows when they aren't on the same page, and especially little cross routes like we saw this past weekend. We've seen the issue in camp with that same type of route. The only time I feel confident with the ball going to McCole is on a deep route where he's wide open. And which he gets wide open because of how fast he is. So I'm not saying that he only gets open when the defense makes a mistake or something along those lines, but it just can't be that. It can't be that, especially not when Tyreek Hill is on this team. We need the center of that field taking as many eyes as possible, because if there's anyone I want getting deep, it's Tyreek. I don't know. I want I want him to have a great season. This is his season. This is his make or break year. I'm just not confident that's going to happen. And I've just been down on him ever since he fumbled that ball in the AFC Championship game last year. But, I got to get over it. Man, McCole Hardman, come on. All right, this weekend, Friday, I believe our game is this week, actually. We are traveling to Arizona, which in a regular season setting, I would be very, very excited for a Mahomes and Kyler Murray square off. Dying to see those two play each other. That is not going to be the case this week in preseason game number 2. Matt, anything in particular you're hoping to see going into week 2 of the preseason?
Well, we against San Fran, we didn't see much with Noah Gray or Powell. So I would like to see them get just the entire game's worth of targets once Mahomes is out of the game. Give everything you can to those guys. And then past that, just what we can do at key positions with depth and how we perform, how O-line depth performs, how the secondary depth performs, so on and so forth.
Yeah, I'm there with you. Noah Gray obviously had some of the pro debut nerves, I think. So yes, the only way you can shake that off is time, and the best place to get that time is in the preseason. So I'm there with you. I hope he gets a ton of targets, and I hope Cornell Powell gets a ton of targets. I need whoever's throwing the rock to just be staring them down and get them the ball as early and as often as possible. And I'll kind of shift to something you mentioned there, because something I am wanting to see is Lucas Niang continue to get that time. Opting out last year, I think, was very costly. So there's the only opportunity that he really gets to warm up, and it seems he will be needed much sooner than we were originally planning on. I am of the belief, I'm following the belief that Patrick Mahomes does not see the field this week. I think with there being one fewer game, Andy is giving this time to the chopping block-esque players. Got to figure out who's going to make this team and who isn't, and certainly don't want to let something get by you and have to cut a player that you didn't get to see much of. So if you're thinking Pat's going to be out there, you saying you think longer, more than one possession that he got last week?
I think he'll get at least 3 possessions. I do think they want to try to build some continuity between him and the line. We don't need to see Tyreek. We don't need to see Travis. We do need to see Mahomes with that line, especially with Creed Humphrey.
I don't disagree at all. I think you are 100% correct. I just don't see it happening.
Mm.
Just the $500 million man just needs to not be on the field in preseason to me at all. And they need to be making sure that they're getting all the 11 on 11 reps they can get in camp and build that continuity, like you said, with this line. I just hope it's not with. Not in a preseason setting, but we will see. We will definitely see this Friday. And what one player that I'm hoping that can maybe catch a spark on this offense, and it's not going to be very often, but I was excited this offseason of the Jerick McKinnon signing. He's a vet that is quick and can do some things in the receiving game and is dangerous in space. I think he's kind of very similar to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I'd probably prefer it be Helaire, putting his shoulder into somebody over Jerick McKinnon. He has had his injury problems, but the 49ers were very excited about bringing him in when they did. They paid him handsomely, and he just never worked out. So we will see. I would like to see him really earn that running back 3 spot. Not that he has to, but he could certainly lose it. And I'd like to see him keep a firm grasp on that spot in this week 2 preseason game. All right, well, that is what we saw and what we are hoping to see for this week. For Billy Truelove and Matt Bird, this is podcast 1558. We are out. Go Chiefs.